Commission. Now, here's the important thing. Just about 200 years ago, 3% of the world's population lived in cities. So just about 200 years ago, if you wanted to serve God, you wanted to be a missionary, you had to go looking for people, not in cities, but out there, in the mountains, in the tribal areas. But today, in our world, 50% of the world's population lives in cities. So where is our mission fields? Cities. 50% and growing of the world's population today is living in cities. So being a missionary doesn't mean necessarily going off to some far off, over the mountains, under the valleys, behind the bushes, people. You can't do that if you want, and if you're called to it, God bless you. But what we must understand is 50% of the world is living in cities. Our city is a mission field. Cities of the world are a mission field. You are in the mission fields. Amen. You're there. Because the world has come to our doorstep. They're right here in our city. And therefore, in order to fulfill this great commission, we must talk about city transformation. God cares about people in cities. He cares about all the lives of millions of people living in this city of Bangalore. He cares about them. The next important thing we must understand is that the key to city transformation is you, is me. We, believers, are the key to city transformation. And I do not say this in any demeaning way, but I want us to face reality. We've had the greatest evangelists in the world come to our city. They have held crusades, some of them several times. But our city has not been reached. So what's the point? The point is that just having great evangelists come to our city is not necessarily going to result in city transformation. Having mega churches, having superstar pastors will not result in city transformation. Every believer must be involved in seeing our city changed. Amen? Every believer. Now, the other reality that we see in our city, and again, I'm not doing this to complain, but just speaking from experience, is that it is very hard to get pastors in a city together. It's very hard. I was of the opinion that maybe we could see city transformation happening top down. And if maybe we get pastors together, we then bring our churches together for times of prayer and intercession and develop strategies that churches could collaborate with and engage in reaching our city. Maybe in some parts of the world that has happened, but it's not easy, at least in our city. And so now the pendulum has swung to the other end. And I'm saying it's going to take you, not the pastors of the city, to see the city transformed. Amen? You and I cannot sit around waiting for the pastors to make up their minds to work together. Eternity might come and go by that time. And so you and I might as well just come together and say, look, every believer, you and I must be engaged in seeing our city transformed, let's go about doing it. And that's what this whole series of talks or messages on city transformation is about. The key to city transformation is each one of us sitting here. We must engage in seeing our city reach for Jesus Christ. And so what we want to do is together prayerfully, seeking the heart of God, arrive at a strategy which may not yet necessarily been implemented before or explored before, but we learn from the lessons of others and we receive the wisdom of God, come together, understand, agree upon a strategy, and begin to engage our city to see our city reached for Jesus Christ. Amen? That's what we want to do. So this morning, I just want to share a few insights, a few thoughts here with us as a precursor for more to come on how we are going to impact our city. We must also keep in mind that it is us, the inhabitants of the city, who can have the greatest impact on the city. We can have people come and go, and they will have some kind of impact. But you and I who live in this city day in and day out, we are the ones who are going to make the greatest impact. Amen? Because we're people of the city. We live here. We can be salt and light in the city. So here are some things I want to present to us as we begin our journey here on developing a strategy for city transformation. And the first one is this, that city transformation, which I've just mentioned here, city transformation will take place when every believer is involved in city transformation. Everyone, all of us must be involved. We're not sitting around waiting for some great evangelist to come and do the job. We're not waiting around for some mega church to rise up. We're not waiting around for some superstar pastor to arrive on the scene. You and I are going to engage in seeing our city reach for Jesus Christ. Amen? So city transformation will begin to take place when every believer is engaged in the process. Number 2 is this. City transformation will take place when every believer is personally transformed, equipped and empowered to engage in city transformation. Every believer must undergo personal transformation, be discipled, be equipped, and be empowered to reach the city. Now, why is this point so important? Because traditionally speaking, and it continues even now in many churches, is that believers are discouraged from having their own ministry. And this continues in many churches. In fact, in many churches, the only idea of lay ministry is stuff believers do inside church, like arranging chairs and stuff. The moment you feel called by God and you go out to do something for God, pastor says, do you have a MDiv or BD or where's your degree? Where are your credentials? Sit down. It may not be, sometimes it's intentional because they feel insecure that others are engaged in ministry, and sometimes it's totally unintentional. They don't know better. So in most churches, the traditional mindset is that believers are here just to be attenders Sunday after Sunday in church, at most give their tithes, and the best is maybe serve inside church under the control of the pastor. But I want us to understand that's not the way we function. I want us to understand that we are purposeful in discipling, equipping, empowering, and releasing people to be ministers of God in our city. In fact, we want each one of you to have your own ministry doing something for God in the city. From what I know, there are at least 30-some people in all our locations who put together here in Bangalore who have their own ministry. They're doing it on their own. They're serving God. Sometimes they give a name to their ministry. It has a name. Sometimes they don't have a name, but they're just still serving God outside the church in the city. And we want to see every one of us doing something like that. Because it's going to take the involvement of all of us to impact, affect, and transform our city. Amen? I mean, so many things. There's some young people who hold meetings in their schools and college, reaching people. They don't have a ministry name. It's not called Jim Jones Ministries, whatever. But they're doing something for God. There are people who go out in the slums, and the work began in a small way, but now they're covering 2 slums, more than 40 homes. An English school has been started. Many lives have been touched. 2 churches have been planted among the slums. There's a lady from our South church. She started on her own. Great work. So we need more and more and more people like this, rising up with a vision, doing something, have your ministry. It may have a name, may not have a name. That doesn't matter at all. You're serving God. Amen? And we as a body want to encourage you, want to support you. Just go ahead, do what you have to do, serve God.